Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Rick and Morty Vindicators 3, The Return of Worldender. And I really enjoyed this episode quite a lot. It did a good job of kind of showing us Rick and Morty's relationship a little bit better and showing kind of what Morty thinks when Rick's doing certain things, but that he doesn't know everything about him. So, it starts off and Morty's trying to clean up this kind of like virusy worm thing, and he's like, you better get all that up, because if that gets in the food chain, it's going to sterilize everybody. And Morty's like, why do you have something like that? He's like, well, what if I need to sterilize some race? You never know. If there's like a monstrous race or something that I gotta stop. So just keep cleaning it up. And then of course we see this beacon thing going off. He's like, oh, it's the Vindicators. We should answer it. And he's like, no, I'm literally not answering this call to adventure. No, let it go to voicemail. And Morty's like, alright, I'm pulling this on you. It's the 10th adventure, I get to pick. And I pick this one. He's like, fine. He even pulls out a card and everything. Rick stamps it. And as he's answering it and all that, we see a bird swoop in, get one of the worm things. And Rick's like, well, you better freeze your sperm, Morty. Yeah, that's a bad thing. So we, of course, then meet the Vindicators. We see this kind of like Star Nova woman, and we see a Dino Croc dude, we see a guy that can control ghost trains, and we see Million Ant-Man, and we see this Vance guy, who's supposed to be like this cool Star-Lord kind of dude. And, of course, Rick is making fun of all of them. The Star Nova woman is like trying to give the lowdown. Worldender's around this time, he's trying to end more than a world. We called you in because we need you to get past pretty much the security systems, and everybody really does not like Rick, but of course he never plays well with others. Making fun of everybody, and we see this, like, janitor kind of, like, guy in the background called Noob Noob, and he's like, he's laughing at all of Rick's jokes that he's making at, like, the, kind of cyborg crocodile dude being like, oh, so you're a robot, which is cold, and a crocodile, which is cold, so what, you fell into a vat of redundancy? It was really funny, just making fun of all of their, like, origins and all that, and they're like, alright, fine. And they're like, well, this is actually the third one, and Morty's, like, confused, like, what, you went on another one of those? Yeah, because we really didn't want to deal with Rick, but we kind of needed him for this one. He's like, okay, and, of course, we see, Morty talking with Vance, and he gives them a Vindicator's vest and all that kind of stuff, and he's like, oh, this is kind of cool, and of course he like goes off with Rick, and of course he's pissed off that Rick and pretty much like is screwing over his heroes. He's like, stop doing this like hero worship, but he's like, they're heroes to me and all that, and because we weren't around, 3 of the Vindicators died, and of course Rick keeps making fun of all that kind of stuff. And he's like, fine, whatever, I'm going to go drink. So, of course, he goes off. We see them kind of come in, and we see that Rick is drunk with diarrhea everywhere on the meeting room table. And they're like, fine, get him off, clean that up. We're going to get going and do our thing. So, of course, they go in. We see all this cool stuff showing them their powers and all that. We see the ghost train thing working out. We see the supernova chick doing her stuff and taking out, like, robots. We see the Million Ant guy getting through all this stuff, and then they, like, finally wake up Rick to, like, take out these turrets, and he does it in a pretty kick-ass way with, like, this little device that, like, takes the bullets, form them into, like, little robot things, suction themselves onto, like, the barrels. He walks out. It's like, hey! So, of course, they get in, and they see a lot of the Worldenders' minions are killed, and we see the Worldender swing in, and he's pretty much dying. And he's like, what's going on? And of course, Rick's like trying to get out. And he's like, he's left his portal gun in the bathroom. It's like, oh shit. And then we see that Rick had passed, like, blackout drunk and pretty much created a Saw scenario. And at first, Rick's like, I didn't make a Saw scenario. And then he's like, yeah, I made this thing kind of like Saw and all that. And it's like, ah, shit. And all of the things are like really kind of simple. And, of course, it freaks out the Vance guy, and he tries to fly off and escape, but, of course, that leads to his death. Morty solves the puzzle because he's pretty much, it's a mix-and-match game for all of Rick's insults to each of the Vindicators. So they go off, and then they're like in a place like, oh, here's a place that you'd never mention to save, and of course the Croc guy goes up and like, oh, Dorian 5, and they're talking about how it was like a shapeshifter on a planet, so they decided to destroy the whole planet, and Rick's like, well, if you had taken me along, I could have made something to find the dude in like a second. But of course that's not what it is. It kills that dude, and then Morty's like, I think he's talking about Israel, because evidently when Rick gets blackout drunk, he talks about Israel and the UN and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay. So, of course, they go off into the next room, and it's like, oh, I'm kind of running out of ideas. Just score 5 3-pointers. And there's also a neutrino bomb there, and Morty's like, yeah, I know about this. It's 40% chance that it's a dud, and that you really make these things shitty. He's like, damn it, I did. And they're defusing the bomb, and we find out that the guy, the dude who has control of the ghost trains, was married to the Star Woman, but of course they got divorced, but that was because she had an affair with the Million Ant dude. And she was like, I got upset because I was carrying the child, and of course it died because I'm made out of stars and he's made out of ants. Of course it wouldn't work. And then the ghost train dude and the ant dude are starting to go at it. She tries to stop him in a like bubble thing, and the Million Ant dude frickin' just brutally murders the ghost train dude by like frickin' going in through his mouth and just exploding. It's like, shit. So of course they go to the next room, and he's talking about how this last thing is something that the Vindicators should like treasure but don't. And of course Morty thinks it's him because he worships the Vindicators and all that, and they wouldn't recognize that. And Rick's like, I'm not sure about that, Morty, but of course he gets on and it works. But not in the way he intends, because he goes through, Rick's talking about all this stuff, it was actually a thing for Noob Noob, because he laughed at all of his jokes and everything. And he gets out, and he's really pissed off at Rick for that one. But of course the Star Woman has pretty much gotten it to, like, we're gonna kill you. I don't give a crap. We're gonna pretty much deal with you as a situation because you're fucking assholes. And of course the Million Ant Man tries to stop her, but she kills him by taking out the Queen and crushing it. And of course she's about to kill them, but it gets up, and Rick had evidently set up this whole kind of party. And we see this dude Logic doing his own thing and has a song with like Noob Noob's like reference in it, and he's like, who's Noob Noob? And it's like, okay, so you don't even remember the dude that you left to clean up your own shit. And we see like Beth and Summer come in, we see the Cogman guy come in, he's like, and then we see the like Star Woman melting into the crowd, and like Morty's like, shouldn't we kind of like go after her? He's like, I tried to 20 people try to kill me a week, and I get high with half of them, so whatever. And of course Beth was like, oh, what's with the jacket? He's like, screw this vest thing, I don't need it, everybody's a hero, showing that he has moved on from the hero worship, because you looked into them and they all kind of sucked hardcore. They're really messed up people. And he's like, okay, yeah, Rick's messed up, but they were, well, they're not on the same level of messed up as Rick, but kind of close. And of course the Cogman dude picks up the vest and is like, oh, okay. And that leads into the end credit scene where he's like playing up the vest and everything to these ladies. And of course things start going shitty, and they're like, oh, why don't you do something? Like, let me change it to my alter ego. Wait a minute, he's already wearing the vest. What's going on? And of course they go in the alley, he's left the vest behind, and he runs and gets taken to pieces. But I really liked what they did, showing like Morty going through and kind of like figuring out what Drunk Rick does, how he knows what Drunk Rick is pretty much thinking. Granted, he was pissed off with the Noob Noob thing, so he doesn't know everything, but he's got a kind of good handle on all that stuff. And just Rick showing that the Vindicators weren't really needed, because if he puts his mind to it, he could do whatever he wants. And that he is able to tie it together of taking out a villain and pretty much destroying the heroes as well. So I thought this was an overall pretty good, enjoyable episode, showing us stuff with like the bonds between Rick and Morty, but also showing just the craziness of like these superheroes that are in the universe and making a cool riff on the Avengers. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.